For these two examples, we're going to be looking at systems of inequalities, so some application for systems. For number 4, it says you have at most 8 hours to spend at the mall and at the beach. You want to spend at least 2 hours at the mall and more than 4 hours at the beach. Write and graph a system that represents the situation, and then identify and interpret one possible solution. So my first step, again, is always going to be to label my x and y, label my variables. And we're looking at hours at the mall and hours at the beach. So I'm going to have x be hours at mall, and y be hours at beach. And now I want to go ahead and actually write my system here. And so I have a few things going on. First, I see in this first sentence it says I have at most. So that's going to be less than or equal to 8 hours to spend at the mall and at the beach. So less than or equal to 8 hours to spend at the mall and at the beach. Well, x is hours at the mall, y is hours at the beach. So the left-hand side will be x plus y, because the amount of time I spent at the mall plus the amount of time I spent at the beach needs to be less than or equal to 8 hours. So I have my first inequality. My second sentence says I want to spend at least 2 hours at the mall. So at least, that is greater than or equal to, and that is at the mall, which is my x. So the amount of time I want to spend at the mall, I want that to be greater than or equal to 2. And so that's going to be x is greater than or equal to 2. And then that second half of the sentence says I want to spend more than 4 hours at the beach. So at the beach, that is y. I want to spend more than 4 hours at the beach. So that means that y is greater than 4. And that's because more than represents that inequality greater than. And you can see that in that chart on the first page. And so this is my whole system of linear inequalities. So I actually have 3 linear inequalities that I'm going to be graphing here. I'm going to start with the bottom. So I have y is greater than 4. Remember that y, so that's horizontal. So I want to go to 4, and I'm going to draw a horizontal line. Since this one's strictly greater than, that's going to be a dashed line. And now when I'm shading this, I want everything bigger than 4, so I'm going to have my shading go everything above. Okay, then my second one is x is greater than or equal to 2, and so x, that's vux, so it's going to be a vertical line at x equals 2, and since this one's greater than or equal to, it's going to be a solid line. And I want everything bigger than that. So this one's a little bit tricky because it's a vertical line, so it's not really above the line I'm shading, but I want to shade where everything is bigger than 2, so I want to shade it to the right. Okay, now I have this x plus y is less than or equal to 8. I'm going to go ahead and put that in slope-intercept form. And so I get that y is less than or equal to negative x plus 8. So my y-intercept is at 8. My slope is negative 1 over 1, so I have this. And it's less than or equal to, so it's going to be a solid line. And since it's less than, I'm going to shade everything below. And so my solution is going to be everything where all of the shadings overlap. And so that's going to be that triangle there. And now for that last sentence, it says to identify and interpret one possible solution. And so you can have anything in this triangle. I'm going to go ahead and choose this point. It's on a solid line, so I know that's still a solution. And so that's going to be the point 3, 5. Remember 3, that's my x, so that's going to be the mall. 5 is my y, and so that is beach. And so if I interpret that, I can say I can spend 3 hours at the mall and 5 hours at the beach. Okay, let's look at another one. This one says you earn $10 per hour working as a manager at a grocery store. You're required to work at the grocery store at least 8 hours per week. You also teach music lessons for $15 per hour. You need to earn at least $120 per week, but you do not want to work more than 20 hours per week. Write and graph a system of linear inequalities that represent the situation. So I'm going to first label my x and y. I'm going to have x be my hours at the grocery store. And y be hours at music lessons. I'm just going to say music here. And so I want to write and graph a system of linear inequalities that represent the situation. So I'm going to go ahead and start just working through all these sentences. Okay, so it says you earn $10 per hour working as manager at a grocery store. No inequality there, that's just telling me how much I earn. Second sentence says you are required to work at the grocery store at least 8 hours per week. So at least that is greater than or equal to. And that is just the hours at the grocery store, and so that is x. So x has to be greater than equal to 8. My hours at the grocery store has to be greater than or equal to 8. Then it also says you also teach music lessons for $15 per hour. Okay. You need to earn at least $120 per week. So at least it's a greater than or equal to. And so what's greater than or equal to 120? Well, that's what I'm earning. So I need to see how much I earn at the grocery store and add it with how much I'm earning at music lessons. Well, that first sentence says that I earn $10 per hour working at the grocery store. So I have 10x plus, and then also teach music lessons for $15 per hour. So 15y. Okay, and then that last part of the sentence says that I do not want to work more than 20 hours per week. I do not want to work more than. I don't want to work more than, so that means I want this to be less than 20. And then what's going to be on the left-hand side? Well, that's just going to be x plus y, because x is my hours at the store plus my hours at music lessons. I want that to be less than 20. Okay, so now we can go ahead and start graphing this. You'll notice that this isn't labeled. We're actually going to have to label it ourselves. And we'll have a little bit bigger of numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this middle one first to see what my y-intercept is going to be. So I have 10x plus 15y is greater than or equal to 120. I'm going to go ahead and do this with my x and y intercepts. So I'm going to find my x-intercept first. So I have x is equal to 12, so that's going to be the point 12, 0. And then 120 divided by 15, I get 8. So I need 12, I need 8. This one I'm going to need 20. So if I do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 16, 18, I'm going to have everything go up by 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and just label that first one, and then I need to remember that all of these go up by 2. And so graphing this first one, I have 12, 0, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then 0, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. This is greater than or equal to, and so that's going to be a solid line. And then I'm going to shade everything above it. I'm going to go ahead and graph this one next. I'm going to do this with slope-intercept form. And so I get that y is less than negative x plus 20. So my y-intercept's at 20, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Now I want to go down one to the right one. And this one's strictly less than, so this is going to be a dashed line. And now for that one, I'm going to shade everything below it. And then my last one is x is greater than or equal to 8, and so that is a vux. So I'm going to have a vertical line at x is greater than or equal to 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, and this is a solid line. And since I want everything greater than or equal to 8, I'm going to shade to the right. So that means that all of my solutions are over here in this overlapped region. So I have that first part A, and now I need to use the graph to determine whether I can work 8 hours at the store and teach 1 hour of music lessons. So hours at the grocery store, that again was X. Music lessons was Y. So I'm looking to see if the point 8, 1 is in my shaded region. And so I come here. It looks like it's not, but I can go ahead and check with all of my linear inequalities. And so x is equal to 8, 8 is greater than or equal to 8. That checks out. Let's look at the next one. So I have 10 times 8 plus 15 times 1 is greater than or equal to 120. $95 is greater than or equal to 120. That one does not check out. So the answer here is going to be no.